declare that carried. Thank you very much. Okay, now move to item 8 and then 9 on the art trail along the Avon River precinct. So, Russell and Andrew. There'll be plenty of questions. Right, so could you please start with a bit of background on these, generally on the placement, the river art trail, and then I think Brent's going to talk to us about the maintenance as well. So sort of overview of those things before we move into the individual two papers.
Sure. So two things, one about the art trail and one about where the funding for this came from. The art trail was conceived by Sarah way back and never actually grew legs because it was going to require significant philanthropic funding. So they did the work, they identified places, the idea is still there, and some of it has been fulfilled through literary works, and there's existing artworks and bits and pieces along the way. The particular place that's been identified for the pool artwork was a site on the original Art by the River trail for a relocated artwork. The funding that Otakaro transferred to council last year, or might have been the year before, $200,000, was to fund two of the pieces. The first of the pieces went through a selection committee, a part of which Kerry Jarden, our arts advisor, was part of, and the second is a commission piece. This particular piece, you may remember, was part of a temporary scape exhibition that sat across the road by the Hereford Street Bridge there for quite a few months. A couple of things that have happened just in general since this was originally drafted is around in general future maintenance of artworks, and this came from a report to council probably 2 years ago where you asked that we have a look at how we provided for and looked after our artwork, because we're currently using contractors to do the work. You're aware that there's a significant amount of work has been brought back in-house through Andrew's team to not only control costs but also to improve the quality of the work that we're doing. So Andrew might like to talk about those initiatives.
Yeah, sure. So a position has been created that's been vacant for about 12 months, and the reason for that is we've been negotiating with the Ministry of Culture and Heritage over the maintenance for the Earthquake Memorial Wall. That is now concluded. So we're now in a position to recruit that role where funding's been contributed by the Crown annually to support that. The difference between a contract delivered model and what Council have asked us to go to internal is we can target the response. So instead of having a scheduled price for every element per annum and whether it needs the work or not, typically we'll be paying it with our internal resource supported by our other ranges. We'll be able to target the maintenance where it's needed. So we're going to get a lot of efficiencies, cost efficiencies out of that. So we're ready to go with that now. So
I guess the key question from that is, as we're being asked to add additional pieces, you don't believe that additional budget will be needed at this stage?
I'll just get Russell. He's got some updated numbers actually. I believe you got some numbers from Scape. So the numbers in the report are not quite correct.
So with Natalie's guys, the pool, in the report we mentioned $7,000. After talking to Escape, they have actually come back and they recommend $2,000 per annum.
That's quite a difference.
So I guess my approach to this is now that we know that we're going to definitely in-house the maintenance, as we've now we can pretty quickly do a full assessment of what the true needs will be. So consideration of change in the annual plan may mean no change, but we need to do that work, and it's not going to be a difficult process.
And that information will come back to us as part of the LTP discussions.
Correct.
Great. Pauline, then James, then Tim, then Jimmy. Okay, James Goff.
Yep, thanks. Do we insure it? Or does someone else?
All the artworks are insured.
And we
Yeah.
hold the insurance
Yep.
with that. And the other one's really been answered around OPEX, so more current estimate than around 2,000 instead of the 7,000.
Yes, and the actual value of it, early indications were it was around $45,000. That was the value of the artwork, but the closer figures are 88,000.
Okay, thanks. And last one, it was displayed obviously near the Hereford corner. Any history or problems with people sort of climbing it and everything? It's 3 metres high. I certainly couldn't reach it, but I don't know if others
No,
could.
no, I don't think I would either. No,
Sam might not,
in
maybe.
fact, they've done some extra work to the engineering of it and raised the plinth a bit just to make sure.
Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is not
Nothing came
likely.
across.
It's not likely to be a vandalism target or.
No,
we
more than
didn't
anything
experience any during the.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's good. Tim?
Just to clarify, I read in the report that it's actually going to be opposite, or the proposed site's opposite the Antigua boat sheds, not Hereford Street.
Yeah, no, you.
Oh, no, it
You were
was.
listening to me.
was.
I was saying in 2019
Oh,
they had
yeah.
it displayed at
Okay,
the
just
Hereford
just-
corner.
yeah.
So I just wanted to see how it performed then.
And just the site opposite the boat sheds, that came about, the original proposal was actually to put on the same side of the river from the boat sheds, but we are scaped to go and talk to the businesses and the housing around that area. And the boat shed said, look, they didn't mind it, but not on that side of the river. So then we re-looked at the out by the river plan and saw that there was a spot
Yeah.
already designated over there.
I notice under issues, one of the water suppliers. So is that just going to be like a water blast, or because I mean,
Just a wash down.
yep, So-
And if we don't have that, we have mobile tanks.
yep, yeah. I was just thinking because it says here water supply is required, but that would be putting in a pipe, and that's ridiculous. So thank you. I guess no, I'll leave it for the debate. Thank you.
Thanks. Jimmy?
Thank you, Chair. Regarding to the staff, the recommendation paragraph 2, those conditions, consents, and also to provide some of the information. This one, when will be ready? What's the time frame for those conditions?
Once approved goes ahead, they'll have to apply for the consent to go
Yes.
in. So I don't know the time frame on that, no.
Okay, but it's after all this has been
Yes,
confirmed.
it can't go in without those
Yes,
being satisfied.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so we'll move to the specific papers then. So number 8 is Natalie Guides the Pool. Do we have any last specific questions on that one? No, in that case, do I have a mover for the paper? Sam and Pauline second. Any debate? Tim?
Thank you. Look, I know that artwork is meant to, or some public art and art in general is sometimes meant to challenge us and raise questions and along those lines. But I guess two things for me is one is negotiation with the artist with regards to copyright. I can totally understand wanting them to protect with regards to having the right to not copy or whatever, but we've got some examples where it's actually cost quite a bit to repair, etc., and when we can touch, when we can't, etc. The artworks have been bought for the city, therefore I think there should be some more movement and less preciousness, I think. So if they're going to sell it to the city, then they should be actually open to that, and I don't see this in any of the artworks really that we deal with, so I'm really disappointed with that. And it's not a stab at council staff at all. It's really, I think artists have to open themselves up a wee bit more, so I'd like to see that. I just don't see, maybe, I mean, I'm no art expert, but I think this is just a step too far. I don't see its relevance to this site and to this area, so I'll be saying no to this.
Thank you. Hang on. Melanie?
I feel a little bit like Tim. I find the location a bit odd. I mean, I used to have lunch there, as it mentions in the report, and I'd find it quite weird to sit next to that object. So I'm going to support all of it apart from part 2.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in debate? Yanni?
I concur with what's been said, and also I think for me, like we really need to think about the challenges that are facing us around our own maintenance. There's parts of the city along rivers where we can't even do the basic maintenance, and yet here we are adding an additional maintenance cost for something in terms of this location that just seems very unnecessary. There's a beautiful riverbank here. There's been 100 million spent on the river promenade through the central city. I can't justify us taking this artwork and putting it here, and I can't justify the ongoing cost in terms of maintenance when we've got other things that are struggling to get maintained properly, like park benches in our communities, or roads or parks. So appreciate the work. I also think we need to have a conversation at some point around using local artists. I note in the kind of report it does mention that there were artists that were looked at across Christchurch and New Zealand. I would have thought we should have, especially with our new arts policy, be focusing much more on local artists rather than artists in other parts of New Zealand. So I won't support this today.
Thanks, Yanni. We have Pauline, then Sam, then Anne.
So if art is not controversial, in my view, it's not really art, and I think the conversation we're having today is just proving that. I think this is fantastic. I really think it's great that the OPEX cost has come right down to a more real figure, and I think we can look at ways that we can even get those down lower. And I do have confidence in Scape. They do a good job in our city. Our city is becoming a really strong art city, and bring it on, in my view. So I think they've put a lot of work into deciding the location. I think it'll be great there to look out over across from the boat sheds and see that. So I'm really supporting this today.
Thank you. Sam?
Yeah, look, I'm surprised we're even debating this. Let's be very clear, we're accepting a gift on behalf of the city with minimal maintenance costs. We need to be positive and look at how we proactively rebuild the city, and this is a really good step. So I'm quite frustrated that we're even spending time as a city debating it. We're accepting a positive gift that will add value, and we should embrace it.
Thank you. Anne?
Wonderfully said, Sam. Thank you. And exactly what I was going to say. We spend an enormous amount of time and money thinking about concrete, roads, whatever. This is about our soul as a city, and art is about feeding that soul. Art has to be controversial. That's what it's meant to be. It's meant to cause debate and discussion. And we'll never agree about whether something is a good art or not, or whether it should be in this place or not. That's not the point. The point is that we need to feed the soul of our city, and this is one way to do it, and it's a wonderful gift, and we should be very grateful. So, thanks.
Andrew?
Thank you. Just very, very briefly, I agree that a workshop on our arrangements and our approach to public art would be a good idea. Each of our individual responses to a piece of art is subjective, and that's exactly the way that it's meant to be. One of the features of public art, or one of the attributes, is that it provokes discussion. Well, that's exactly what's happened here this morning. But if we want our city to be an interesting place and to have features that are points of interest and points of conversation and develop the footfall that we so often talk about, particularly in the central city, then what we're talking about here is aligned with that. This is a gift. The maintenance costs are both minimal and minimised, and I'm really pleased to support this today.
Thank you. James?
I'll keep it pretty quick. Look, this is being gifted. The OPEX is only $2,000. We've spent more than the annual OPEX, probably just having this debate right now, than live streaming it. So let's put it into perspective. Enjoy it or not, that's your prerogative, but I'll be supporting it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Jimmy?
Aaron's waving his hand.
Oh, yep. Jimmy, then Aaron.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I support this one. I just want to remind the Mayor and Council, if we review our community outcome, particularly under the resilient community, we celebrate our identity through the arts. Arts the first, culture, heritage, sport, and recreation. So it's core value of city, particularly the central city. After the most attack, and also after the pandemic, now we need to vitalize economy. Also this for well-being. So regarding to maintenance, etc. Probably if we review the paragraph 2, but still it's a kind of the set up similar conditions there. So today we approve. Just we like to to vitalize the city. Yes. So I fully support.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, like's been said, art is meant to inspire and confront and all of those other things. Obviously, this one here, I know it's called pool, but it's a diving board. people are going to turn up and have a look at it and go, wow, the river's moved over the years. And the other thing, if it was, I think it should be placed outside Treasury, and we'll call it off the deep end.
Thanks, Aaron. James?
Somewhere back in the 80s, I was on a high-profile radio station here in Christchurch, and I was outraged at the council buying a Colin McCann painting called As There Is a Curious Flow of Light, right? So I've conducted this public outrage, and then I grew up. And so I'm supporting this today, notwithstanding the fact that the river has moved, as Councillor Kewen has noted, and notwithstanding that it's too shallow to have a diving board there anyway. But no, I think it is great that we have art that provokes and encourages discussion. That's what this is, as we've seen this morning. Kia ora.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so 30 seconds from me. Public art is essential for a city. When you look at the way that art is often perceived as being something exclusive and expensive, public art like this, and whatever you think of the piece itself, allows art to be accessible for everyone, for every resident in the city. You only have to walk past, there's no charge, you don't need to own it yourself. And I think that enriches the city right across all of the demographics. And I think that's really, really important. To me, this particular piece speaks to the lack of swimmability in our rivers. And the fact that they are of really poor quality and they're not currently our pool. And that will be what I am reminded of when I walk past it. And with that, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Okay. Okay, so Yanni and Tim against the whole thing, and Melanie recorded against number 2. And with that, I declare it carried. Thank you very much. And we